Imagine a small kingdom, a vassal state, that grows so powerful it pioneers military rocket technology and very nearly stops the British Empire dead in its tracks. Well, for 500 years, that's pretty much what happened in South India. Today, we're talking about the incredible story of the Kingdom of Mysore. So, how did they pull all this off? We're going to break down their incredible 500-year journey into a few key parts. We'll look at their humble beginnings, their absolute peak as a powerful sultanate, that epic clash with the British, their surprising rebirth, and finally, the amazing legacy they left behind. Okay, let's rewind the clock, all the way back to 1399. A dynasty called the Wodeyars founds a small kingdom. But here's the catch. They weren't really their own bosses. For almost 200 years, they were vassals, answering to the massive Vijayanagara Empire, which pretty much ran the show in southern India. But then, things start to get interesting. Power vacuums, right? They change everything. In 1565, the mighty Vijayanagara Empire starts to crumble, and the Wodeyars see their chance. They declare independence and start expanding. The real game-changer comes in 1610, when Raja Wodeyar I captures the strategic city of Srirangapatna. Just like that, Mysore is officially on the map as a real regional power. You know, conquering territory is one thing, but actually running it is a whole different ballgame. And that's where a king named Chika Devaraja comes in, a total genius. In the late 17th century, he built the entire administrative engine for this new power. We're talking an efficient central government with 18 different departments, kind of inspired by the Mughal system, and he even set up a postal service. This made the kingdom strong from the inside out, not just on the battlefield. All right, let's jump forward to the mid-18th century, where the whole dynamic just flips on its head. The Wodeyar kings are still around, but they're more like figureheads. The real power has fallen into the hands of a brilliant, super ambitious army captain, Hyder Ali. And this right here marks the beginning of Mysore's most famous and most formidable era. Under Hyder Ali, Mysore didn't just grow, it absolutely exploded across the map. This guy was a military genius. He conquered vast territories, from the Malabar coast to lands far up north. At its peak, the kingdom covered over 200,000 square kilometers. To put that into perspective, that's roughly the size of Great Britain. Mysore was now a dominant force, no question about it. So you get this legendary father-son duo of defiance, Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan. Hyder was the brilliant tactician who rose from nothing to build an empire. His son, Tipu, known as the Tiger of Mysore, had all his father's fierce determination, but he combined it with a real passion for innovation. For decades, these two stood as one of the last and greatest obstacles to total British domination of India. And you know what happens when two expanding powers meet? A collision is inevitable. The rise of Mysore put it on a direct collision course with the other expanding power in the region, the British East India Company. What followed was a 30-year struggle for the soul of South India, fought across 4 brutal wars. And man, the fortunes of these wars swung wildly. In the first one, Hyder Ali achieves the unthinkable. He defeats the British and forces them to sue for peace, a stunning humiliation for the company. The second war ended in more of a stalemate. But then, the tide began to turn. A powerful British-led alliance defeated Mysore in the Third War, seizing half its territory. And the tragic end came in 1799, when Tipu Sultan was killed, fighting to the very last breath to defend his capital. I want to pause on that second war for a moment. The treaty that came out of it, the Treaty of Mangalore in 1784, wasn't just some document. It marks the very last time that an Indian power forced the British to the negotiating table as the weaker party, making them beg for peace. That one fact tells you just how formidable the British considered Mysore to be. So after Tipu's fall, you might think the British would just swallow Mysore whole. Instead, they did something politically clever. They shrank its borders and put the old Wodeyar dynasty back on the throne. But this time, the kings were ruling a princely state, which basically meant they were under the control and supervision of the British Raj. And you might expect the story to just fizzle out here, with Mysore as a shadow of its former self. But instead, something totally unexpected happened, a renaissance. Guided by these visionary chief ministers or Diwans like Sir M. Visvesvaraya and Sir Mirza Ismail, Mysore completely transformed itself. They kicked off a massive wave of modernization, building dams, founding universities, and starting key industries, turning the kingdom into a model state that was praised all over for its progressive administration. The success of this era was so profound that it earned praise from figures like Mahatma Gandhi himself. He actually called the Maharaja at the time, Krishnaraja Wodeyar IV, a Rajarishi, or a saintly king, for his dedication to his people and the progress of his state. That's some pretty high praise. So, what is the legacy of this 500-year-old kingdom today? Well, it's far more than just palaces and politics. Mysore's influence stretches into technology, culture, and art in ways that we still feel all across the world. This might be its most surprising and far-reaching innovation. Under Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan, Mysore developed the world's first iron-cased military rockets. The concept was simple, but absolutely revolutionary. Instead of flimsy paper casings, they used a metal cylinder, which meant they could pack in way more propellant. The result was incredible thrust and a range of up to 2 kilometers, a terrifying and completely new weapon for the Europeans who had to face it. And they were devastatingly effective. So effective, in fact, that when the British finally conquered Mysore, they captured these rockets and shipped them back to England for intense study. This reverse-engineered technology directly led to the creation of the Congreve rocket, which the British would famously use against Napoleon. So yeah, Mysore's innovation didn't just challenge the British in India, it went on to reshape the future of European warfare. Beyond war, the kingdom was a cultural giant. The Wodeyar kings were passionate patrons of the arts. They established the world-famous Mysore silk industry, a unique style of painting, and a distinct school of Carnatic music. And their legacy lives on in everything from the grand Dasera festival to everyday favorites like the sweet Mysore pak and Mysore sandals soap.
From a humble vassal state to a technological powerhouse that challenged a global empire, the story of Mysore is a saga of ambition, innovation, and resilience. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating question. If history had gone the other way, what kind of world might an innovator like Tipu Sultan have built?
If you enjoyed this explainer, we have a whole playlist on South Asian history with more deep dives just like this one. Be sure to check it out and subscribe to Notebook Summaries so you don't miss our next one. Thanks for watching.